not. There's some more people coming on, but we are live currently. So that's it. Welcome to the people joining. We've got some more people coming onto the feed. So we'll just wait another minute before we start live. Thank you. Right, good afternoon, everybody. I'll switch my camera on so people can see me. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the arts discussion that we've got open here. We've got three presenters currently, the Humanities and Arts presentation that we've got this afternoon. And I'd like to welcome our three presenters at this stage. We're waiting for one more to join. And as soon as he joins, I'll also introduce him. But I'm going to switch off my camera to not steal the limelight. On the left-hand side is Matthew Counihan that we've got. Matthew, I'm going to just read his CV for us quickly for introduction. He graduated with a degree in philosophy and psychology from the University of Johannesburg. However, the magnetism of the arts held a stronger allure. Matthew has performed in a multitude of children's theatre productions: West Side Story, Hair, Cabaret, Peter Pan, Saturday Night Fever, for which he received the Naledi Award nomination, The Full Monty, Snow White, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Pinocchio, Little Shop of Horrors, the international touring companies of Greece, also having received the Naledi Award nomination, and Jersey Boys, and Rock of Ages, for which he received the Naledi Award nomination as well. In addition to the above, Matthew has taught and coached a number of prominent high schools in Johannesburg, including Crawford College Sandton, guest lectured at Wits, Oakfields College, and the Waterfront Theatre School. Matthew has established himself as a creative consultant in the corporate world, a director and producer of musical theatre and dramas, and has directed and produced works for Redfest, the National Children's Theatre, the South African State Theatre, Sorgo's Son and Company, the Ndlovu Youth Choir, and Showtime Management. Matthew has received a number of Naledi nominations for both his performance and directorial work. Matt currently works as Associate Professor at the Hazel Feldman of Showtime Management. Associate Producer. Matt, I just gave you a
Prof. Matt.
Matt's continues to consult in education, remains a strong advocate for the arts. Thank you. That's Matt. Andrea that we've got there, Andrea Andreou. Andrea that has studied a BA degree in corporate communications and has an honours degree in BA corporate communications, strategic communications. She is currently working at FEDISA, a fashion school situated in Cape Town and Johannesburg, as a school marketer, student administration and lecturing communications and social studies and marketing and consumer behavior. She started a career journey in marketing and moved into sales over the last 10 years. She really enjoys lecturing and teaching her students communication and marketing, as she's a great passion for what she studies. Andrea also finds much excitement when she comes to sales, as well as selling products and services that may benefit a person. A very rewarding career. Then The third person, if Melissa can please switch on her camera so we can see and wave at us. Melissa is on the screen.
Can you see me?
Not yet.
Hold on.
It's fine. We'll get to Melissa. I'll introduce Melissa. Melissa Lai. She's been working in the marketing industry for over 20 years. She obtained a BCom Marketing and Communications degree at Bond University and the LLB from UNISA. She started working in events industry and worked as a marketing manager for the Crawford Schools Group, as well as Advitech Schools Division. She has also worked at Red Hill School, Wits Business School, as well as the Workforce Group. She is passionate about storytelling of a brand. She specializes in strategic brand management and corporate communications, as well as the customer experience. I don't see.
Still not.
No. Yolanda, can you assist with that maybe? I don't see Jonathan as yet.
Unfortunately, I can't switch on her.
I'm going to leave and then jump back in then.
There we go. And then Mr. Jonathan Blaine Shore has arrived. Jonathan is a screen and stage actor, dancer, voice artist, and personal trainer. He studied a Bachelor of Arts in Performance at AFDA, Johannesburg, where he graduated on the Dean's List with distinction, achieving cum laude in the screen and stage disciplines, and winning the undergrad award for the best actor in a leading role. As an actor, Jonathan has since appeared in numerous theatre and television productions, both locally and internationally. On stage, these include the Zeusfield Christmas Carol, the dyslexia is coming through there. The Zeusified Christmas Carol, and I saw him in that production, I must admit, at the Children's Theatre. The production nominated for the Naledi in 2018, and the best production for children, and the lead of the People's Theatre production of Beauty and the Beast, playing the Beast. Most recently on stage, Jonathan has performed part of the two-man cast of I See You, which toured locally around South Africa. Jonathan is set to feature as part of the cast of the upcoming pantomime Cinderella, directed by Janice Honeyman in November 2021. On screen, Jonathan has appeared in international productions such as the 2013 international feature film Kite, as well as appearances in the BBC series Leonardo, Warrior for Cinemax HBO, and Professionals. Locally, he has appeared in many series, some of which include Those Who Can't, Bedford Wives, Taryn and Sharon, and Grassroots. He will soon be seen in yet 2 to be announced films for the ETV's streaming service in 2021. As a personal trainer, Jonathan has studied informally and trained for the past 6 years, following, adapting, and applying various training methodologies learned over the course of his training career thus far. In 2019, John started his own gym and personal training facility named Shore Shape, which has grown into a fully supported and practiced training space. Welcome to the 4 presenters, and I will now hand over to them.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So we were discussing earlier about what we should talk about, and we didn't want to make it too formal. Matt said, like he said, it should probably be more organic, just discussing what we did, how we got into the industry we're in, and then go from there, talking about why students should go into these humanities studies. So I don't know if Jonathan, we drew drew straws, and we decided you and Andrea are going to go first, followed by Matthew. That's right. What happens. Matt and I joined later.
I was really hoping that you guys were going to go first, but okay, never mind. Jonathan, do you want to go first, maybe, and then
Ladies
we can get a
first.
little bit of a. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. So where do I start? Right. I guess the best place to start is obviously Crawford. I absolutely love Crawford. All my years that I were at Crawford, I really, really I flourished. I really enjoyed it. I feel like one thing about the school was that they actually treated us like adults. I don't know how you guys felt. I really felt like we were treated like adults. We were able to have an opinion, which was really, really great. And I think that like really like helped me actually after school, you know what I mean? Like being able to deal with people, being treated like an adult, being able to have my opinion. And I think when it came to also like assisting me in my studies, for example, I would probably say like it really did, because one thing also about Crawford and, you know, as ex-students, I think all of us are very, very like high achievers. We all really wanted to get distinctions, and we all really... And that really like pushed me like in varsity, you know what I mean? Like I still had that competitive streak in me, you know, like I wanted to do well and I wanted to, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that really, really helped me. And also now just in the world of work, you know, like I know how far I can push myself. I know what I can actually, you know, like give to my company, or whatever I do, I always give like 100% to it. So yeah, and then obviously after Crawford, I went into university, and wow, it's actually quite interesting because I really didn't enjoy university. I mean, I loved the holidays. I think we all did. And I missed that a lot. But I have to say that, like, you know, coming from a very sheltered school and going into a university where you're sitting with like 500 other people and you're just a student number was really, really like difficult, you know. And I think like, my thing for me is that it took me very long to actually adapt to university and to adapt to that kind of life. But once I actually did, like, I think that I really enjoyed it. You know, I started to realize my freedom, you know, you have more freedom. Like I said, you have only 2 classes a week, or you only have varsity 2 days a week. So you have that rest the week off. But it was also very difficult because at the same time, you kind of had to balance your work life, you know, your studies and your, you know, work that you needed to do, and not, you know, spend those 3 nights drawling heavy.
Plus you're partying.
Gosh, that was very, very, very difficult. So, what else can I say? So I went on to go study corporate communications, and I really enjoyed it. And I think it's also, you know, even though varsity, you don't, your lecturer doesn't know who you are, and you're just a student number basically. I actually found an amazing lecturer that just helped me actually get through corporate communications. Her love for it helped me have the same love. And I think that's one important thing that I actually have to say to everyone, that school you have to go to, school you have to do, you know what I mean? There was no options. You get to at least, is a grade 10, am I correct, where you have to choose your subjects? And that's the only time that you actually do have the certain, you know, like options. And then you carry on up until matric. And then you get to university and you have to choose a degree. And it's so difficult because you're like, what do I really want to be? Like, I've seen an attorney on TV and I'm like, that's amazing. And I want to be that. And I want to cross-examine like that. And then you land up literally like doing this degree and you're like, no, actually, this is not where I want to be. So it's so hard. Because when you finish university and you go into the work world, like, you have to love your job. You wake up every day having to go 8 till 5, Monday to Friday, sometimes even on weekends, depending on it. So you really, really have to enjoy and love what you're doing. So that's the thing, is that from studying, I mean, I'll get into where I am, you know, presently I'm at Fadisa Fashion School. So I deal with first years and I deal with third years. And it's so funny to see the first years come in and they are so petrified of life. And then you see, so guys, it's actually quite funny. I mean, the tears that I have every day, I have to speak to one of them, give them a little pep talk and send them back upstairs. And then you're dealing with third years when they're going into the industry and they're also so petrified and scared. And it was actually so funny. The beginning of term 2, I did a discussion with them about, you know, what do you expect in the industry and what is the salary that you expect? And I mean, these people think, like, you guys think you're walking out getting like 50, 60K salary, and it doesn't happen. And when I had to break it to them that, like, actually, you're probably going to get about 5K a month, I think that was it. I think I've become the most hated lecturer at Fadisa at the moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you got to be really, really prepared. So for corporate communications, for me, for corporate communications, there really isn't any, you know, qualifications that you necessarily need. I mean, you obviously need just a bachelor's pass and a university exemption in order to do that. It's a really fun degree. As I said, I really loved it. And for me, it was like you do journalism and PR, and you learn about like how to actually be the spokesperson for an organization. I'm making it very basic at the moment. You know what I mean? I always never go into detail when it's such a new thing, So I really love that. And then I did an honors year, and that was a very, very hard year, I must say, that I really struggled with. It was very different, and I don't like change, and there was a lot of work all at once, and it just gets, quite hectic, but I got through it. I did. And that is what is important, is that at the end of the day, you do exactly what you want and you'll make it happen. And that goes back to coming from Crawford, I think, where, we are such high achievers and we just really, really want to do our best. So I think for the industry itself, and I think any industry, what I believe is what's very important is adapting. I don't know how you guys feel. Absolutely. Adapting, yeah. It's very hard, also like from university to, work life. I think the thing for us is that, like, as I said, like with school, you're so sheltered and everything is done for you and you have to follow these rules because this is what you have to do. But then like when you get to university and work life, there's a lot of changes and you got to be ready to adapt to these changes and adapt in a good way, not to actually, be harmful or detrimental to yourself. You know what I mean? And I think like with work and that kind of thing, there's a lot of changes that go on. You're not going to walk in, to your office every day or wherever you are every day and sit down and do something that you've been working on for 3 weeks. All of a sudden, your boss comes, drops something on the table, says, I need this done in 2 hours, and you got to do it. And then there's times when people leave their jobs and they don't leave, work behind. And then your boss is like, you got to do this. So you also got to keep in mind that like you got to be ready for that and you got to be prepared for those kind of things and those situations that are going to happen in your life, and especially like when you're going into work. So what I basically do of all my years, I've been all over the place. I did marketing, I did sales. I've done quite a few jobs along the way. I did key account management at one point, but where I am at this present time is actually at this fashion school for DISA. And from all my experience that I've had with all these different jobs that I've had, I've actually landed up coming into three roles as one person. So school marketing, student administration, and then I'm lecturing also. So what's nice about it is that I actually have 3 hats and I get to change them throughout the day, which is very cool. And I'm not just considered just a lecturer, I'm also a student administrator. So I'm doing like all the student administration work. As I said to you, I get students coming to cry and telling me they've had a bad day or they're not coping. So I get to deal with that. And then obviously my lecturing of communications and social studies. I love the subject. I think because the students are more here for fashion, for example, they're not really interested in communications as much as I would hope they would. So yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell. The advice that I really can give you, and I think just, 2 things that I've been actually told in my life that have really stuck with me is, firstly, number 1, with my lecturer, Counihan, that I absolutely loved, she always used to say to us, never, ever, ever move out of the industry that you studied. And it's so true. Even if you don't like what you are doing, do it for a bit to get a bit of an understanding and then move on with your life. I know I can see, Matthew, you laughing at me, but that's exactly what he did. Because for me, I've done so many odd end jobs over the years. So I always feel like going back to that, I'm like, that's so true. Like I should have actually just stuck to my industry. But I think I also didn't have, that much confidence at the time of my life to actually carry on building a career in the industry that I studied. And that is a very important thing. Always have confidence and always believe in yourself. So that's me, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm so glad I'm done. I'm going to switch my mic off now.
Thank you, Andrea. We'll still take questions at the end with a question and answer session. Jonathan, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so wow. Firstly, it's wonderful to hear your story, Andrea. It's lovely to meet you as well. I think it's really cool to be back, like speaking again to students and parents and everybody. I'm just so grateful to be here. Keeps me close to what was once a very, important home to me, which was Crawford. And yeah, I think I agree with what Andrea. I relay that as well. I repeat that because I think Crawford was far progressive past its time, and we're seeing schools getting that way now, but Crawford was always sort of at the forefront for me at that sort of pace, and I think that really helped me in terms of not just in a professional sense going forward, but also a personal sense. And I'm really grateful for that. I always will be. It's interesting, speaking to the students that are on here with us, you have a wide variety of people here. You have very different experiences in terms of what we've all experienced and what we're all doing. And I think that's beautiful because it kind of sums up the arts and humanities sort of field of work. It's so varied. For me, it was a case of I took a gap year after high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I obviously knew I wanted to be an actor, and that was always the goal, but I didn't know where exactly to place that. I got an agent, which was very fortunate when that year started, which is something I must say off the bat doesn't often happen. You often do need a degree to sign up with an agency that forms part of, the PMA, which is the agency group you want to be in. But I got very fortunate. It was just circumstantial, and I was very grateful. And I sort of took that gap year thinking, this was it. I got an agent now, and I'm going to just audition, and this is me as an actor. And that year was really tough, and it was a brutal, brutal gap year. One that I think was important. I think I needed that year to understand that as beautiful as it is to have these passions and these dreams and these aspirations, I needed to figure out a way to be practical about it as well. Understand that I needed to do practical steps in order to manifest that, or at least have a shot at manifesting it. So I went to AFTA personally, and I did it because of the practical element of AFTA offered. I understand that, there's theoretical greatness in other institutions, but I went there because I wanted to get in front of cameras as quickly as I could. It was an interesting experience. I think I gained a lot from the lectures that I got to learn from there. I was very fortunate. I think that practical experience served me well. But I also think going into the industry and going into the working world, I realized very quickly that and this is something that Matthew will back me up on, you have to learn to deal with rejection, and that is with kindness and with love. You don't learn it quickly, you learn it gradually. So if there's any of you out there who want to be a performer, it is something that you have to come to terms with, no doubt. There's no lie when they tell you that. And as much as I've had beautiful experiences since then, some would look at those experiences and go, you've been one of the fortunate ones to be on those things. And yet half the time I'm thinking how unlucky I am, because nothing seems to come my way so often. And that's a realistic thought. That's something that often happens, where you're dealing with that rejection, and you're dealing with, you're not short enough, tall enough, big enough, I'm too blonde, I'm not blonde enough, my essence isn't right. So these are all the things I think, every time I speak about, being a performer as a career, I always speak about understanding that a lot of it is beyond you. A lot of it is out of your control. Again, with kindness and with love, it's out of your control, but there are things that are in your control. And those sorts of things are classes, training, continuing the training past university, understanding that training never stops. And you integrate yourself into the world of the performance world, into that industry by being at classes, by being involved in so many ways. I was not a dancer in high school. I started dancing when I was 21. Discovered it was something I really loved doing. I may not be the best at it. I may never be great at it, but I can be good at it because I work incredibly hard at doing it. And I find an enjoyment out of that. I'm not a natural singer, but I had to learn how to sing. I try to open up those doors. And that I think is so important. It's being practical about those aspirations. I think a lot of us as creative people get really emotional about these things sometimes, and that's beautiful. But I think we've got to remember to place it in a way that we go, okay, how can I make this a practical thing? What rationally can I do to facilitate myself and really work hard at it? It is ultimately a career, and I can only speak from the world of performance, really. It's difficult to shift your mindset into going, but this is a career, and what do other people do for careers? Work, you know, in medicine, you're working 6, 7, 8 years. You know, you've got to understand that there is a work that comes behind it. To sum up my gym, I started my gym in 2019. I'm so glad I did that. I did it because I have a huge passion for fitness, and I realized also as an actor and as a performer, you need to have something else that you also love. And I don't mean a plan B, and I'm not saying you need to necessarily always have these alternatives. I get the passion and the drive and you want to go for it, but I think it's so healthy to have other things you love. I mean, Matthew is a prime example of somebody who has just broadened his horizons so much. There's so much he loves doing, and that is why I believe I look up to him. He's somebody I learned from in Crawford. So he's done a hell of a lot to broaden that. And that for me was training. I love doing it. It keeps me busy. It keeps me motivated. I'm in control of it. So when the auditions are tough, as we've seen with this pandemic, it keeps you going. So that's sort of my opening spiel, I suppose. But yeah.
It's worthy of a standing ovation.
Thanks, Jonathan. And what an intro for you, Matt.
Sure, thank you. Look, I think, you know, we're a product of the environment that we keep, and kudos to Crawford and the amazing environment that we have evolved from. I think it's quite special to be in an environment where you can be academic and I say that because Crawford was always a home for the oddballs, and most of us are on the screen as we speak. You know, so I think that's the case. But I want to say that with a massive but. I think, you know, a lot of schools say, well, they're the jocks and they're the creatives and they're the academics. And they've created these kind of mutually exclusive groups. If we look at the world that we're living in now, we are living in a very blended world. We are living in a world where creativity is very much a part of the mathematical world, very much a part of engineering. I mean, as far as I'm aware, Crawford has STEAM. You know, it's a subject that incorporates creative thinking into traditionally academic subjects. Engineers would be nowhere if they didn't have the ideas which stem from creativity. So before we start speaking about drama and the importance of acting and singing and dancing, and I mean, you know, look at what Mel and what Andrea are getting up to. You know, they're not necessarily performing arts, but they are practical applications of skills that have been acquired in creative subjects. And I think if I'd like you guys to walk away with anything today, and this is my preachy moment. If there's anything that I really wish that you could take and clutch onto, is the sense that, you know, don't do drama for drama's sake. Don't do art for art's sake. Don't do design for design's sake. See it as gateway subjects into creating or cultivating a spirit of creativity, a spirit of inquiry, a spirit of the impossible becoming possible. So we'll probably hit on that a bit later, but you know, I think that's what's really important about what Crawford allows. So that's the Crawford punter side, and I think what I really want to get at is, I'm just a dude who did you know, drama and music and wanted to go off and study drama, and my mother said no. She was like, it ain't gonna happen because you're gonna end up working at exclusive books. And so I was like, okay, so I'll study the human mind. And let me tell you, the human mind is at the core of everything. And it is highly creative. It is highly complex and intricate. And I kind of thought, okay, well, if I'm not going to train to be an actor, I'm going to train in the skills that an actor can ultimately incorporate into creating performance. at some stage. And I was like, well, I'm going to do a degree in psychology. And it ended up being philosophy and psychology. And I will be able to walk away in 3 years' time with the ability to continue studying into honors and masters and practicing psychology, or I'm going to find the opportunity to get into a production and become an amazing character. And I trusted in that picture. And I think that was the interesting thing. In terms of what Andrea said, in terms of what John said, all of us believed that we knew we could do what we wanted to do. That was vital. So whilst there might have been a slight disagreement in terms of, don't have a plan B or go and do what you've studied, I think the core was there. The essence was there. And I kind of managed to get into a place where I landed an audition and got a show, and it was a snowball effect. And I became the guy who graduated with a degree in psychology, who still managed to get an agent, who then went down the road of performing for 8 years. I put a time frame on it because I also wanted to be able to look at my bank and say, hey, I need a bond and I'd like to drive a nice car. And I knew that wasn't going to be the case with performing. So I gave myself the opportunity to let my heart live and live an experience whereby I could travel the world, quite literally, with shows. And I sang and I danced and I acted for 7 or for 6 days a week. And I saw the world on a producer's dollar, which was really exciting. But I knew that there were other things that I could tap into. And that's when, funnily enough, Mrs. Reese, once upon a time, knocked on my door and she said, do you want to come and teach? And I said, sure, why not? And the teaching thing evolved, and that was amazing. That's when I got to meet John, and we worked together briefly. And that's when I met Mel a few years later, and we did some amazing things at another school. And I'm still waiting for our moment.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So the teaching became a thing, and that was beautiful because it was about how do I take these skills of performance, which are numerous, guys, they are numerous, and translate them into something that becomes about other people, allow other people to find their ovations in life, find their opportunities to step into their own little bits of spotlight. Once the education thing was done, I was like, okay, I need to get back to performing, not necessarily to perform, but to direct and to work with people who want to be on stage. And funnily enough, I got to meet Ms. Wilsonach Kober, and we worked together at the National Children's Theatre for a little while, where we created some amazing pieces of work. And in that whole process, Hazel Feldman, who is one of South Africa's foremost producers, she's done Chicago, she's done Jersey Boys, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, Disney on Ice, a few little shows. She approached me and she said, I've seen what you're up to. I've seen you've obviously been on stage, and I think you can kind of step into a producing world whereby you can manage a company of people, understanding what it's like to be on the floor, on the stage, understanding what the ultimate outcome is for an audience, and you can kind of sit between those two worlds and create the platforms for people to work. And that brings me to where I am now. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I'm going to hand over to my big sis, Melissa. I'm feeling like the middle child at the moment.
Thanks, Matt.
Bounce off each other after, Mel.
Absolutely. So I have a very similar story to Matt in that I wanted to study drama. I was all about drama at Crawford. Too much of the teacher chagrin when I'd go, oh, I couldn't make math. Sorry, I was in drama rehearsal. Or, but again, family, my father was like, no ways in hell are you going to study to be an actress. There aren't many Lucy Lius in this world. That's basically his words. And I thought, okay, well, at that time, I really wanted to be a lawyer then, because then I can perform in front of people still and make money doing it. And then the teachers at Crawford all went, can't see you as a lawyer. Are you sure that's really what you want to do? I'm like, well, I can't do drama. Dad wants me to make money and actually have a profession. What else is there? And thank God for my teachers at Crawford who went, there's this whole other world of marketing and communications, and we can see you being in front of people and with people and doing things, out and about, because we really can't see you sitting in an office pushing paper 7 days a week, because that's how hard lawyers will have to work. And I went, you know what, you've got a point there. So I went on and studied a BCom marketing and communications degree. Absolutely loved it, but the rebel in me decided I still wanted to do a bit of law, so I took some law subjects along the way. Actually, my distinction subjects in my BCom degree was law. And then decided, hey, this is not so bad. I'm still going to study law. And that's what I went on and did. I will never, ever practice law. I am not an attorney. I love the learning, the study of law. I love reading about stories and cases and what happened and what this person did and what that person did. And I think that was my love of drama and my love of storytelling is the reason why I loved law. But I think it stood me in good stead because it gave me that balance of the creativity of my marketing and communication side and the business side of law with the contracts and being able to go into a business and actually understand the business side. So I think for the students here watching this, you know, humanities is so broad. There is so much that you can do with it. And I 100% what Jonathan was saying, it's a craft. It doesn't matter whether you're going into fashion, whether you're going into drama, or you want to do anything in the arts. There is a study behind it. You do have to put in work. Any skill in life, you need to put in the work. And I think for me, that's what I want to get through to you guys is, even if you go into a subject, and I like Andrea, I was in the education field for a long time, so I counseled students, and I had students crying in my office going, I don't know if I want to do this degree. What have I done? My mom said I must do this. I think the best advice is to actually go out there and be an intern. Take your school holidays and go and shadow someone. I know you guys at Crawford have the shadowing program as part of LO, but don't just do it for the LO marks and the time off and the timesheet. Go out and say, I want to be a psychologist. Go and shadow a psychologist. And don't just do it for a day. Do it for a week. Go out and say, I want to know what it means to be an actor. Will go in and shadow an actor. Go follow him through auditions. Try and go and audition yourself. Actually go in and immerse yourself in the world that you think you want to be in, because there is nothing sadder than studying for 4 years, 3 or 4 years, being in a profession. You wake up at 8, you finish at 5, and you hate your job. You really need to love what you do. And sometimes you may find that you go and you've studied something and it's not for you, but then make it work for you. I think that's the key. It's to be agile, make what you've done, use it as a life experience, and turn it around to find what is your passion and apply what you've studied to your passion. And I think that's pretty much what I've done. I love being around people. I love storytelling. So for me, I've told my story through the people that I've worked with. When you think, for me, I specialize in brand management, and a brand is like a person. They've got nuances. There's a story to tell. I like well, what's behind it? What is the thinking? Why did they use blue instead of turquoise? Why did they use a circle instead of a square? And people look at me like I'm absolutely bonkers, but there is a story behind it, and that's what I love. And I've blended my love for brands with my love for people. So at the moment, my work has evolved into customer experience. So I go into organizations and I go, what is it that you do? Whether you're selling a product or a service, who is buying it, who is using it? And I go into the mind of the consumer and I go, what is it that we want from this company. And it evolves all the time. With this pandemic, we've seen how people go, well, now we're locked in my house. This is what I want from you. And a lot of companies have either soared. Brands like Checkers 6060 have gone, we know what consumers want. They don't want to leave their house, but they need groceries. We can deliver. And then you have brands who go, oh boy, I can't do anything because everything's online now. My customers can't come to me. And they haven't been able to adapt and go to the customer. So my job is to go into an organization and figure out how best to bring brands to customers and say, this is the sweet spot. And that's my spiel.
Thank you very much. Anything, your mic is off, Matt.
Goodness. Here we go. Gracious. I was just saying, you said something so interesting there, Mel, and it's come up in what you've spoken about, what John's spoken about, what Andrew's spoken about, is adapt, agility, pivot. And I think if creatives are positioned to do anything, it's about, we all come in with these great ideas. We think they're great. We sit around a table with other people and all of a sudden, actually, they're being shot down or the holes are being poked in them. And it's about looking at those holes and kind of going, okay, but if we plug it with a bit of your idea and a bit of, Joe's idea and Andrew's idea and Mel's idea, actually something else blossoms and there's this emergence of something quite exquisite.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things, it's a plug for the humanities subject, is the appearance of grit in people that have gone through humanities studies. And I think especially in the fine arts, where Jonathan was talking about being able to accept rejection with love.
I love that.
It was so profound, but a lot of people nowadays don't have grit, and it's a learned skill. Parents will mollycoddle us and say we are the best because it's my baby. My baby is the best singer, actor, dancer, best good-looking person. And there's 10 other people that can do the same, but because they're your parents, they will tell you all of this. But as a life lesson in business or in any career, and it's to learn how to accept rejection and make yourself better because of it.
Yeah. 100%. I completely agree with that.
Absolutely.
And there's that pincer pause.
So I don't know. Do we want to open to questions now, and that might evolve our discussions further? Charles, do you want to open up some questions to us?
If I can just switch my mic on, I'm talking to myself. Yes, I think we can. Is there any questions? Please raise your hand, and I can acknowledge you. I don't see any questions, guys. You can unmute as well.
I think I'm looking at the participants in. It would be nice to know if what they're thinking of studying as well. It would be interesting to see.
Ms. Sefo, you've got a question?
Hello. This is a question for everyone, but what's a subject that you did not choose when you were given the subject choice form, that you did not choose, that later on in life, when coming towards like opportunities and careers and all of that, you thought, I maybe should have chose this?
Oh, I go. I got to dive in here. I'm like, this is the question, because I've been thinking about this so much. Biology. I didn't take biology. In fact, if I'm being honest, sorry, biology students, I couldn't stand it. It was probably my least favorite when I was in grade 8 and 9. I just found it so boring. But what's weird is I wouldn't say I regret it. I understand that was my journey. I couldn't change my mind back then. What's interesting now is I've done years of study now on anatomy, the muscle system, everything and beyond, becoming a trainer. And it has been the most fascinating, phenomenal journey. And it's linked so much to performance, because as a performer, you're using your body very much as a tool. So that is certainly a subject that when I look back, I go, oh, John, come on, of 2009, you really need to have like chosen that. But I think it's goes to show that even if you didn't study a particular subject, it's never too late to invest time in it. It doesn't mean I have to understand everything. It just means that within that avenue that I've chosen, I need to give it the absolute love and attention like I did to the performance world. So yes, that's definitely one. Yeah.
Andrea, Matt?
Wow. Okay, let me think. I actually should have taken accounts. I don't know why. It becomes a lot more it becomes a lot more useful in your life later on when you actually need it. I should have done that. And yeah, Matthew, your mom probably would have done that. She would be like, yeah, actually now. The other one, as a silly joke, actually is home ec. You actually don't realize how much you start cooking in your life and how many things you actually start burning.
I hear you.
Yeah. All right. Those are mine too.
I'm gonna hop in there with a two-pronged approach. The first thing that I wanted to say was I wish I paid more attention in maths. Sorry, Mrs. Gear. And I tell you why. Maths was irrelevant in my life at that stage, and not because numbers are irrelevant, but because of the way that it was made to. The way that it was made to be relevant in my life was academic at that stage, whereas now it's incredibly practical. So Melissa's been going on about storytelling, and we are all storytellers, whether we believe it or not. We are all storytellers, and numbers tell stories. In terms of where I am at right now, numbers are incredibly meaningful, and they paint incredible pictures of possibility, or of challenge, or of how do I overcome that. They tell incredible stories, and they give us incredible insights into whether things need a bit more attention. And I feel like I wish if maths were framed in the same way that creative subjects were framed. If maths was framed in a way that if maths was a paintbrush. What I'm saying is it's never going to be that way at school, but what I've realized is its importance at a far later stage in my life. There was another part to that story which I have completely forgotten, but it will come back at a later stage. But numbers and the importance, the significance of numbers. Yeah.
So mine is a mixture of Matt's and Andrea's. I've gone through, a niece and nephew also went through the Crawford schools, and both of them dropped to standard grade maths, maths lit, they call it now, maths lit. And it's not because they couldn't do maths. They chose to go into maths lit because they were arty, and they thought they're never going to use maths. And if I can say to you guys now, if you're choosing your subjects and you're thinking of moving to maths lit, purely because you think it's the easier route or you don't need it later in life, if you can, my suggestion is to stick with pure maths and don't drop to maths lit. I'm sorry, maths lit teachers. I know that there are people who want to do maths lit, but later in life, you will think, I could have stuck it out. I could have just worked with it. And then accounts as well. It sounds strange, but once you go into the business world, having that foundation, and it doesn't matter whatever you're studying, whether you want to do anything in humanities, you will still need some kind of financial acumen. You need the maths and you need the accounts. Yeah. It sounds weird to have someone who goes, I'm going to be an actor. I will never need accounts. Well, you actually need to know how to balance your own books. You need to know how to file your own income tax. You need to know how much, what are you being paid? How much your agent is taking off of you? What are you paying in tax? What's the difference between PAYE? And, that kind of stuff. You need the numbers. And I'll be the first to admit that numbers scare the crap out of me. But I've had to do budgets now. So I sit and do huge budgets, and you go, I should have done accounts.
Sorry.
So I hope that answers your question.
I get you, Mel. Sorry, I just had my brainwave. It happens at 36 these days. But like the other subject that I wish I had done was dance. In my performance career, it is something that has become an absolute love of mine. Jono's gone there. I know Jono trains rigorously in terms of dance. But here's the thing about dance, which is such an interesting thing. Yes, you are going to learn how to pirouette, and you are going to learn how to jeté, and all those beautiful movements that are core to being a great dancer. But think about life and our interaction with people. Our life, we interact verbally, but we also interact with our bodies. We come into contact with people, and our bodies say so many things. Right now, as I speak, I've got my Italian hands going strong over here. And we speak with our bodies. And once again, not dance for dance sake, but dance for understanding the power of storytelling and reinforcing communication. And just having a sense of presence and pizzazz. It's really quite crucial, I think. So certainly in a performance perspective, kind of in a performance arena, but absolutely, and just in terms of body language narrative.
Perfect, thank you. Masega, I hope I answered that question for you. Anybody else?
Have we put everyone to sleep? Oh boy.
No, I think you've been very interesting, but I think you've actually answered most of the questions during your talks, and we touched on basically all the points. And yes, I would like to thank you for your time, and it's nice to see all of you again. As I said, I've worked with basically all of you in the 20 years at Crawford. I've been Jonathan's great controller, so yes, we've been there. And thank you very much for all that work. And Matt, I did see you in quite a few of those shows as well. Now that I thought back about Jersey Boys and all of those. So yes, thank you for your
Charles,
time.
there's a question. There's a
Stefan,
hand up.
you've got a hand up, Stefan. Question?
So I just have a question. So I was wondering if there's a subject that you really enjoy, but it's not really in the path of the career you would like to pursue. Should we still choose it over a subject that would help us more in the future, but is not as appealing to us right now?
And
Have you got?
Just to interact with you, Stefan, what are you thinking of taking are you thinking of going down a particular career path where you believe there is a subject that does not necessarily facilitate you getting into that career path?
Yes, so I'm more looking towards going into the sort of business side of it, but I also really enjoy sort of interacting with people and that kind of stuff. So I was also looking at maybe going into more sort of teaching and that kind of thing. But I think I'm leaning more towards the business side. But I really enjoy geography, but it doesn't really relate to either of the two. So I was just wondering whether I should maybe take that because I enjoy it over something else that would maybe help me later on with the teaching side of it or the business world.
I hear you. I think, Stefan, I mean, I'm just going to jump in there, and my guys on the panel here will hop in too. I think enjoyment is crucial in life, and I think life is going to be a constant balance and argument between what is necessary and what is enjoyable. And let me tell you that the enjoyability factor is a necessity in life. So if you see it as something that is not necessary, you need to reframe that. I think there are going to be givens that you need to do, such as the business studies or the maths or the accounts, for argument's sake. Okay, but to neglect what you enjoy will end up alienating the other things that are necessary. So it's always about walking that beautiful balance. You guys?
No, I agree. It is balance, and you need to find something that excites you to go to school. If you're going in and doing every subject that you absolutely you don't enjoy, then what's the point in life? You need to have that balance. Yes, if you've got a clear marked trajectory of wanting to go into business or whatever the case may be, there are skills in geography that you're learning that may not necessarily directly translate to business, but every subject that you learn at school has a particular skill set. So the subject might be geography, but there's a skill set that you're learning. I didn't take geography, so I'm not sure what the intricacies are, but every subject has a certain, I mean, for example, history, you think you're learning about the past, but when you're actually studying history, you're learning the skill of writing, because you write a lot of essays in history. And you're learning to absorb certain facts and then reiterate those facts in your own words. So that's you're not learning history. You're learning a skill set. Same thing with geography. You will come out with a skill set. And if it's a subject that you love, I would say stick with it.
Perfect. Stefan, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Oglali, your hands up.
Good evening. I just wanted to know which subjects in high school were the most useful for you and prepared you the best once you matriculated, and was drama one of those subjects?
Can I go? Can I go?
Go.
You'll actually be quite surprised. I'm also an actress trapped in my body, because I loved drama. I absolutely loved drama, okay? And I really wanted to go do drama after school. I just didn't have the courage to ask my parents if I can study drama. I thought, let me hold that in. So actually, speaking about the question about the geography, do what you love, because I promise you, when you're older, you don't have time to do the things that you love. So do what you love now. But yeah, I did drama and I loved it. And I must say that, like with my sales skills, I'm very passionate and I show it. And for me, drama was definitely one thing. Because also in time in your life, when you are standing in front of an audience and you're working in front of people and you're doing a meeting and you've got to do a presentation, you got to have those skills. And it is such an important thing. It is such an important skill to have in your life. And you'll realize that when you have to speak in front of your CEO and you're literally stumbling over your words and you actually the drama helps you, think of it as always as acting. I think of it, Chicago with Richard Gere, when she says to him, I'm scared, when she's about to walk into, and he goes, you razzle dazzle them. And that is my saying, razzle dazzle them. Okay, I'm done.
No, yay.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's for me, it's like, obviously drama. I know it's such an obvious thing for someone like me to say in the position I'm in, but I totally agree with you, Andrea. It's like, and linking back to what everybody said, it's amazing the way something like drama can pull you out of yourself, teach you things, build your confidence in a hopefully a gentle way. I always believe that drama shouldn't be designed in a way to hoist you up onto a stage and expose you. You go through that process in your own time, and I think that is hugely important. I think of myself as a trainer. Even that, I link back to a subject like drama. My understanding of dealing with people, reading a room, reading energy, and there's a lot of energy games you play in drama, and we all take those for granted. And actually, it's a big deal. You've got to read the room, and that's a huge thing, I'm sure, for presentations, for all of that. And I think that's hugely important. But ultimately, I think if I think back to a subject that I loved, it really was a case of every subject I could pinpoint moments or things that I've taken with me that I understand. English, I enjoyed writing. And whenever I write certain things, I had to write a bio for this moment. And there's things that I have to write and come up with, and I have to write my programs, and it's always facilitating something. And that's really the thing. I understand those of you out there who are trying to choose subjects and figure your life out. It's daunting, it's scary, it's overwhelming. And that's okay. I want to say that we always are here to say that that's normal and understandable, and you don't have to make the absolute right choices right now. Life happens as well. Like, things happen. Let life happen as well. Don't always feel like you have to control everything. Often the choices you make now will guide you regardless. So that's, I think, important for me.
I think, you know, we're living in such a visual, our culture and the world with which we, in terms of our interaction with the world, is incredibly visual. Even the parameters of the meeting this evening, you know, you guys are watching us. There is a language which is being communicated visually. So at the risk of sounding really cheesy, I would say any art subject at this particular stage, at the risk of not prioritizing one over the other. I see Hanaki Milan on the chat there. But I think anything that involves design, visual arts, performing arts, as in music, dance, or drama, I think not necessarily as a form of balance in your life, but because the world we live in is not just left-brained. It's not just numbers. It's not just black, white, debit, credit. It's a world that we look at and that we see. And anything that trains us to be sensitive to what we see, to what we feel, to listening to tone, those things are super, super, super crucial. You know.
Can I just jump in on the back of that, Matt? There's a study that's been done about positions that will be available, say, in 2030, as soon as 2030. And a lot of professions that we have today will be obsolete by 2030 because the robots are going to be taking over. But one thing that time and time again that robots cannot do are the creative arts, are the humanities subjects, because at the core of it, robots can't feel. They might be taught to feel in maybe 2050, but you still need the heart of a human being. And that's what the humanities subjects are. It's the heart of what makes a human human. And yes, a robot can come and will probably replace accountants very soon and will replace lawyers very soon. But a robot can't paint or paint with feeling. A robot can't compose music or compose music with feeling. They can be taught the algorithms and the theory behind composing music, but they won't be able to communicate the creativity. So my gift, my parting words to you guys is, don't think of what you want to be when you leave school or leave varsity. Think more about the skill sets that you want to have, the skill sets that you'll be able to adapt to whatever profession is out there when you leave school and when you leave varsity, because that's what you'll be doing. Your profession might not even have a name yet. It might not even be created yet. There are so many jobs now that with new names and weren't needed 10 years ago, 5 years ago, weren't needed last year. The pandemic has created a whole host of professions that didn't exist last year. So rather think of your subjects as skill sets that you want to take out than the actual subject of maths, geography, history, art, design, whatever. Think of what you want to be skilled at.
Not what you want to be, who you want to be.
I like that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Right. I will then say thank you very much. Thank you for your time. It's greatly appreciated, and thanks for sharing your life stories with us. And I remember all of you fondly at this stage. And I can think back to quite a few incidents when you were in grade 9 and talking about those things. So yes, thank you very much for giving your time up and for answering the questions. And thank you. And we'll call an end to the evening with that.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Lovely to see you. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.